CTV News with Mitsumi Takahashi.
Good evening. Mark Carney and Donald Trump spoke today, and they've agreed to intensify trade talks. Yesterday, the White House announced plans to impose 50% tariffs on a wide range of Canadian exports, from alcohol to dairy. About $28 billion in tariffs. So, now what? Here's Judy Trin.
A source close to the government tells CTV News the Prime Minister was caught off guard by the announcement of new 50% tariffs.
I spoke with President Trump earlier this morning. We agreed to intensify negotiations in the coming weeks.
The tariffs will impact more than 500 additional products, from hockey sticks to wine to cement. That's about 5% or $28 billion worth of Canadian exports.
Only response to the way they've treated our farmers and our people. Canada's been very, very tough on us over the years, for many years, and no other president's done anything about it. I mean, in all fairness to them, they need us to survive.
The opposition leader says the new duties are unjustified and wrong, and is calling for all parties to work together to prevent them from happening. The Carney government has already made several concessions. It's splitting revenues on the Gordie Howe Bridge before it recoups the cost of building it. The digital services tax has been scrapped, and the Online Streaming Act rolled back. But the Trump administration says irritants like the provincial alcohol ban and supply management in the dairy sector remain.
Things that do not fundamentally commit to resolve these issues, maybe just talk about them some more. And for us, we want them fixed.
Carney wants debilitating tariffs on steel, aluminum, and autos removed, and CUSMA preserved, but says putting U.S. liquor back on shelves will be up to the provinces.
The decision to change that, first and foremost, will be taken by the provinces themselves, each individually, and should only be taken, in my judgment, as part of an overall agreement.
Carney did not rule out retaliatory action, which a former Trudeau policy advisor says could be effective.
There are approximately 500 products that they are applying tariffs to from Canada, none of which are oil, none of which are critical minerals, the things that they know that if the costs of astronomically rise, that it will drastically affect their industry.
The Carney government will have less than a month to negotiate its way out of these new U.S. tariffs. They're set to take effect August 19th. Judy Trin, CTV News, Ottawa.
The U.S. has its sights set on Canada's dairy industry. It wants Canada to open up what it sees as a very protected market. Geneviève Beauchemin has more on that.
Like 6 generations of his family before him, Angus McKinnon has produced milk just a stone's throw from the U.S. border. And he's been wondering when the American neighbors would target the industry.
We've been waiting for Donald Trump to come down on dairy for the last 2 years.
Under the current system, the tariffs will have little impact on producers themselves, though distributors might take a hit. But some producers have feared Canada's supply management system could be sacrificed to appease the U.S. Some critics in this country have said dairy should not be a sacred cow. The U.S. pointed to Canada's supply management system as a main irritant, justifying 50% tariffs, and put Canadian milk, lactose, and whey on the tariff hit list. Supply management sets quotas for Canadian dairy producers, fixes prices, but also limits dairy imports from the U.S. and other countries, imposing quotas and high tariffs.
Brings a great economic stability. We have a guaranteed price for our milk.
In a statement, the Dairy Farmers of Canada said dairy trade is covered by CUSMA, and the U.S. has been successful in accessing the Canadian market under this agreement. The association said that between 2019 and 2025, exports of U.S. products to Canada rose from $423 million to $1.06 billion. And dairy farmers say they're holding Ottawa to its word that supply management is here to stay. Canada is home to over 9,000 dairy farms, nearly half of which are in Quebec.
Quebec was built on agriculture.
Most are family-run with small herds. The state of Wisconsin alone produces more milk than Canada as a whole. But U.S. President Donald Trump has long said supply management is a highly protectionist barrier, treating American farmers unfairly.
You can see that he's positioning himself, because keep in mind, Middle America elected Donald Trump. Middle America is agriculture.
Milk producers will be watching closely over the next 30 days just what happens with the tariffs. Geneviève Beauchemin, CTV News, Coaticook, Quebec.
Montreal clothing manufacturers are also bracing for the new tariffs. It's an industry that used to be protected by the Canada-US-Mexico trade agreement, but no longer. Here's Matt Grillo.
In the heart of the plateau, factory workers hand-stitch high-quality boots to be sold across Canada and the United States.
Doesn't exist. We're probably the last ones.
Maintaining these local manufacturing jobs is a point of pride for Pajar. But the head of global sales says new 50% tariffs on Canadian-made clothing and apparel could make that impossible.
It's a big threat on the survival of the factory, of course, because you're looking at huge increases in tariffs, definitely reduced business.
Boots made here are covered under the CUSMA Free Trade Agreement. Until now, those products have been shielded from Trump's tariffs. No more.
CUSMA was your comfort zone. We produced for years. We shipped to the U.S. and then CUSMA is in jeopardy or under review, question mark. And then this happens.
It will for sure mean higher prices for American consumers.
You can absorb 2, 3, 4, 5 percentage points and just, accept it as part of doing business. But the moment you're in the 10, 15, and in this case 25 for international, 50 to Canada, it's beyond what can be absorbed.
But with the already high cost of living, Greg Nikogosian says he doesn't know how much more customers will be willing to pay.
Definitely makes us worry and start thinking about our future.
Without a deal in place that provides certainty for manufacturers, business groups fear investors will continue to look elsewhere.
We're losing investment, we're losing GDP, we're losing manufacturing jobs as well in the different regions of Quebec. And, there's the impact it has today, but we have to look in the future on the impact it will have on our economy.
And with new sectors now caught under the weight of a trade war, there's even more pressure on the government to find a solution. Matt Gilmore, CTV News.
Environment Canada has issued a red alert for a tornado warning. It's for some parts of the Laurentians, including areas from Harrington up to Mont-Tremblant and Saint-Agathe-des-Monts. The alert was issued just after 5:30. It says severe thunderstorms could possibly produce a tornado. The alert says, quote, "This is a very dangerous and potentially life-threatening situation." Lauren Fernandez will have more later in the weather. Muslim groups and others are denouncing what someone did at a mosque in Verdon over the weekend. It was an act that shocked and frightened the people who'd gathered there. Angela McKenzie reports.
It happened on Sunday afternoon in broad daylight.
It was terrorizing people over there.
Canadian Muslim Forum President Samer Majoub says families were arriving at the Islamic Center in Verdun for a weekend gathering. Chaos ensued when someone noticed a plastic bag had been thrown at the mosque containing what appeared to be a severed hand covered in blood.
You can imagine that at this moment it was really fear because, for kids, for women to be there, and then suddenly you see what appears to be a hand full of blood.
After police arrived, it was later determined to be an artificial hand. The case has now been transferred to the Montreal Police Hate Crimes Unit. Interim Borough Mayor Sterling Downey says he's saddened by the incident.
These heinous, cowardly acts that happen are just inexcusable.
The Canadian Muslim Forum calls the incident Islamophobic intimidation and notes a troubling rise in hate incidents targeting Muslim Canadians. At this same mosque in 2023, Montreal police investigated an incident caught on camera that appeared to show a man shouting insults at two members of the mosque before he tried to enter the building. Downey says the Verdun Borough has been in contact with the mosque and hopes to schedule a meeting between the mayor and the imam this week.
Hopefully the person responsible is caught. Hopefully the person responsible has access to the resources necessary to change their mentality or behavior.
Majoub says it's important incidents like these are taken seriously.
And when we start normalizing hate, normalizing Islamophobia, normalizing anti-Semitism, what comes is that there are elements within any society that are on the extreme side. They will, receive this, that it is fine to target you and me and everyone for whatever reason they believe in.
Police are in the process of analyzing the blood-like substance. So far, no arrests have been made. Angela McKenzie, CTV News.
A young child was seriously injured this morning after being hit by a car in Quebec City. Police say the child suffered head injuries. The driver was treated for shock. It's not clear what happened, but it appears the child was trying to cross the street. And a pilot died last night when a small plane crashed near the airport in Victoriaville. The plane caught fire when it hit the ground. The pilot was killed. The Transportation Safety Board is investigating. There is a summer camp not far from Montreal that goes far beyond the usual swimming and songs and games. It offers young people a roadmap for success in a field they might not have considered before: finance. Anastasia Dixstreen has the story.
Finance is rule number one.
The soundtrack of summer sounds different at Camp Valiquette. Alongside camp songs is conversation about academics and financial literacy.
Don't just say invest.
If you work in our camp from 16 to 21, by the time you're 21, you'll have $30,000 cash in the bank. At 18, we're going to help you open a brokerage account.
Founder and director Jay Valiquette created the academy in 2010. More than 9,000 young people from Côte-des-Neiges and surrounding communities have since signed up.
The summer makes a life-changing difference for them because they come in and maybe they're a little shy, maybe they lack a little bit of confidence, but when they see that they can recite all the planets and the continents and the oceans and we can sing all the songs, etc., they go, wow, I can do this.
The program blends academics with arts and sports. After struggling in school as a child himself, Valiquette says helping those in need is close to his heart. Regular fees are kept low at a subsidized rate of $170 a week. Even more reduced rates are available on a case-by-case basis.
Single moms come for $25 a week. We've got you. CLSC NDG, CLSC Côte-des-Neiges, and Badshaw send us their children as well. They'll pay for 2.5 weeks, and we'll give 6.5 weeks for free.
For Valiquette, it isn't about the money. What brings him the most gratification is seeing campers grow into staff members who continue to learn and give back themselves.
I volunteered 13, 14, 15, and now I'm 16, and I got hired this year. So this is like my 4th summer, and ever since then, I've grown a lot.
I've took so much in here. I did the McGill financial course. I have my certificate. I also am doing right now the AI courses.
I learned so much about financial success, especially financial success. The CV template, he's helping me with the CV, and my CV is looking really great.
But Jay's a great mentor. Never gives up on anybody. But you have to accept his help.
And while camp only goes for a few weeks, Valiquette hopes the lessons learned will last a lifetime. Anastasia Dixstreen, CTV News.
Longtime LGBTQ activist and same-sex marriage pioneer Michael Hendricks has died. In 2004, Hendricks married his longtime partner René Leboeuf in what was Quebec's first legal same-sex marriage. Hendricks also fought for the right of people who are HIV positive, and in 2019, he fought the city to preserve Le Parc de l'Espoir. That's a small downtown square that is a memorial for people with HIV/AIDS.
I believe Michael left this world very much like he lived his life on his own terms. He was an absolutely towering figure in the LGBTQ communities. He was a pillar of the community, and he was a hero. And it's great that everybody is remembering him on this day because he was a great Montrealer.
Hendricks died July 18th. He chose medical aid in dying after a long illness. He was in his mid-80s. Doctors in Montreal have successfully operated on a woman's brain while she was pregnant. Needless to say, it was a very risky procedure. Sweeta Rassi has more.
Before and then after.
These brain scans of Zupa Nakayisimatego are a reminder just how quickly life can change. It all began January of 2025. She was working out at the gym when she felt a sudden pop in her head.
I was very dizzy. I couldn't see properly.
She was in severe pain. Her husband took her to the hospital where she found out she had suffered a stroke, which caused bleeding in her brain. Dr. Marie-Christine Brunet at the Montreal Neurological Institute says her condition was rare.
The incidence is about 1 or 2 per 100,000 population.
Nakayisimatego needed surgery, but there was also something else. She was nearly 6 months pregnant. Doctors gave her the option to wait until after she gave birth, but if left untreated, it could lead to a coma or even death. So she decided to go ahead with the surgery.
I had a feeling that my baby would be okay.
Call it a mother's intuition because she was right. After a 10-hour surgery, Nakayisimatego recovered well, and months later, she gave birth to a baby girl. Dr. Brunet says it took a lot of doctors to pull it off, including specialists from the Montreal Children's Hospital.
And they were here on a standby just in case something would happen and we would have to deliver the baby prematurely.
Operating on a pregnant patient is not something Dr. Brunet does often, but for Nakayisimatego, there's no doubt she had the right doctor on her side.
She did this incredible thing and she saved 2 lives.
And after a scary start for both mom and baby, they now have the most important gift anyone could ask for: their health. Sweet Arasi, CTV News.
And coming up, blame Donald Trump's tariff wars.
All of this is extra taxes that American consumers and businesses are going to have to pay.
So the cost of living is rising across the United States. And an attempted arson attack at FBI headquarters in New York. The premiers met today in Charlottetown, and the Prime Minister spoke to them virtually. The premiers had a lot to say about the new U.S. tariffs. Maria Saru reports.
We've got a very busy schedule over the next 48 hours, 72 hours. This is going to make it a little busier.
Donald Trump's tariffs meant some rearranging for PEI's Premier Rob Lance hosting and chairing this week's Council of the Federation meetings. And as his counterparts arrived, some were losing patience with the U.S. president.
We need to stand up to the bully, and we need to hit him tariff to tariff.
There is not a chance in hell that U.S. alcohol is going back on the shelf in British Columbia. And the idea of the president that he can bully us into whatever he wishes is incorrect.
Several premiers said Ottawa has not asked them to reverse course on American alcohol bans.
No, the federal government hasn't asked me to lift it, and I will be supportive of the decisions made by all the premiers and the Prime Minister.
But Alberta and Saskatchewan already have. Both lifted their suspensions last year.
I want a trade agreement with the United States of America. They're our largest trading partner, have been for all of our life, yours and I's, and likely will be into the future. At the end of the day, why would you want to fight with your largest trading partner?
It's ultimately a province-by-province decision, but some are calling for a united response and a clear direction from the Prime Minister before new tariffs take effect in about a month.
Quebec's economy is really impacted by the tariffs, and we'll need to adopt a strategy.
We need a plan moving forward.
The premiers continue their talks tomorrow before Mark Carney joins them in person on Thursday. Maria Saru, CTV News, Charlottetown.
The trade war that began last year has raised the cost of living for people across Canada, but it's costing American consumers as well. Adrian Gabriel reports.
From tariffs on Canadian dairy and cereal to made-in-Canada plastics to additional swings at Canadian wood products.
All of this is extra taxes that American consumers and businesses are going to have to pay.
The tariff campaign launched by the Trump administration in early 2025 has upended North America's integrated trade relationship, rocking once reliable supply chains while inflating costs for consumers on both sides of the border. Trump's tariffs thus far are estimated to be costing the average U.S. household between $1,400 and $2,400 Canadian dollars annually. And that could spike if these new tariffs go into effect in less than 30 days.
Probably the one that's going to have the biggest impact is tariffs on Canadian cereals and dairy. This is going to drive up grocery prices even further for American consumers. It's really going to hurt American families.
North of the border, wallets here are also feeling the pinch. Canadian households are absorbing an estimated $2,300 to $2,700 in higher annual costs since the tariffs came into effect.
It's making life worse for Canadian families and for American families.
The tariff cycle has also impacted the Canadian economy. Economists are estimating a reduction in Canada's GDP by 1.5 to 2%. The country also lost roughly 61,000 manufacturing jobs since January of last year, when President Trump's second term began.
There's a reason why we need to hold our breath here. There's a reason why we have to take this seriously. I can imagine the pain that so many of the exporters are feeling.
As Canada's economy hangs in the balance, many market watchers believe the federal government's response needs to be measured, in part to protect the cost of living for Canadian consumers.
Economists point out that there was no significant reaction from the markets following President Donald Trump's most recent tariff ultimatum. One theory is that the markets may believe that Washington and Ottawa could reach a trade deal in the weeks ahead. Adrian Gobriel, CTV News, Stouffville, Ontario.
Someone set a fire outside the FBI headquarters in Manhattan yesterday, and it was caught on camera.
Guys, oh my God!
A person can be seen pouring liquid on the ground and then setting it on fire. The video also shows his arrest just moments later. Officials say the suspect is a U.S. Army veteran who was, quote, anti-ICE, and that he was heavily armed. The FBI headquarters also houses a field office for ICE agents. Thousands of protesters marched on India's parliament today. They're demanding education reforms. The police used tear gas and batons to disperse the crowds. The protest began after India's Chief Justice compared unemployed young people to parasites. In just a few weeks, the protests have transformed into a nationwide movement involving millions of people. A stabbing today at Greece's most famous tourist attraction. Police say a 60-year-old man randomly stabbed two tourists near the entrance of the Acropolis in Athens. The two are now recovering in hospital. Police say the assailant appeared to be suffering from psychological problems. The city of Vancouver hosted 7 World Cup matches, but what most people never saw was all the security behind the scenes that kept the games and watch parties running smoothly. Penny Daflos has more on that.
Right through to the final game, soccer fans attending World Cup events around Vancouver.
Fan zone was fantastic. Better for the sport, it's better for the place.
Enjoyed their experience throughout the tournament.
We're gonna drink the whole evening. It will be with tears or with joy.
Which gave Vancouver police new challenges that required special research.
Send small contingents of our key planning staff over to England, to Scotland, to France.
To see how modern soccer culture unfolds, complete with smoke bombs and elaborate costumes.
For the Canada March specifically, there was so much red and white smoke going off all at once. It was difficult to see down there. We strategically put pyrotechnic bins throughout the last mile area.
And some 800 drone flights monitoring the action from above, with 1,300 officers at the fan zones, official watch parties, and on general patrol for run-of-the-mill issues at a very exceptional time.
It's next level. I've never seen anything like it.
Because with the head of FIFA and the Prime Minister in the city, the stakes were already high.
I couldn't be prouder as a Canadian and on behalf of all Canadians.
But with the 2011 Stanley Cup riots still associated with Vancouver, police knew there'd be extra scrutiny.
Making sure we came out of this event without that black eye and managing whatever football hooliganism that us in Canada are not used to, that we had the right deployment to manage that.
And also to manage the level of excitement.
I've got FIFA fever and I've been enjoying all the games.
Without going overboard.
Very key was not to have it as a police state. That's not the vibe that we wanted to achieve here.
Vancouver police did reveal that as they worked with Canadian, Mexican, and U.S. law enforcement officials, they did encounter what they're calling threat-related scenarios, but say that there was nothing specific to our city. Penny Daflos, CTV News, Vancouver.
And a record number of Canadians tuned in to watch the FIFA World Cup.
Lamine Yamal
Pedro Porro, Williams, and thundered in for Spain by Ferran Torres!
TSN says there were more than 30 million viewers overall. That's about 75% of Canada's population. And Sunday's final between Spain and Argentina attracted 6.4 million viewers, making it the most watched World Cup final ever in Canada. Both TSN and CTV are divisions of Bell Media. And coming up, it took just 30 seconds.
You could hear a whirring sound, and then bang. And that's when we just ran for the basement.
One small town in Alberta finds out just how powerful a tornado can be. And seeking shelter, many family pets have also been displaced by the wildfires. Starting Friday, the world's largest maritime training exercise takes place around the Hawaiian Islands. It's known as RIMPAC, Exercise Rim of the Pacific. 31 countries, 40 warships, 5 submarines, more than 140 aircraft, and 25,000 personnel. Roger Hilton is with the global think tank GlobSec. Hi, Roger.
Good evening, Montreal. Good evening, Mitsumi.
So, Roger, what exactly is the point of this training exercise?
Well, Mitsumi, in a world of unpredictable security challenges, hyper-technological change, and black swan events, this event is fundamentally about stress testing capabilities, doctrine, and allies, and making sure that they are prepared and interoperable for all potential situations in one of the hottest geopolitical theaters at the moment. Outside of the actual military training with 30 nations, this is about elevating the amount of support and trust among allies to make sure in the toughest situation they're ready to go and perform.
And what will this exercise tell us about the future of naval warfare?
Well, Mitsumi, as we've seen just reading the news, modern warfare, especially in the naval, is not going anywhere. Today, it's the Strait of Hormuz, and tomorrow, it's the Strait of Malacca. But what this actually is about is the concept of isolated ship-on-ship battle naval warfare is so gone. And this is about a variety of multitude of assets coming together, and all of these ships, sensors, hard power, space, making a huge battlefield assessment, acting with all these data points to make the right policy, in addition to being under huge amounts of threats. So as we said, this is the 28th iteration of RIMPAC, and it will only get more complicated in terms of modern naval warfare.
Now, Canada is taking part in this. So what does that tell us about Canada's role in the Indo-Pacific?
You know, Mitsumi, we talk often, you and I, about sort of Euro-Atlantic security and Canada's role in supporting Europe. But the fact of the matter is that today, the situation calls for Ottawa to be operationally present on both sides of the Pacific. As you mentioned, Canada is sending 800 troops, their strategic national interests that they need to advance, and building on the 2002 Indo-Pacific strategy and 5 key pillars, this is an opportunity for Canada to, as I said, work on interoperability, work with allies, and showcase that this is our backyard, and we're willing to put the work in to protect what's rightfully ours and to support allies.
But you know, Roger, some people have raised concerns about Canada spreading itself too thin. We have NATO, NORAD, Ukraine, the Pacific. Should that be a concern? Is this really necessary?
Well, as I said, I mean, the time calls for it. Canada needs to be present in all of those situations. So I just want to reiterate, while it's a dizzying list that you put together, it's important. When it comes to what's going on in the Rim of Pacific, of course, there's been this big news of the submarines being ordered, and they're going to make a huge help. But Canada needs to be able to understand now what it's capable of, what it can promise to allies, and more importantly, where the weaknesses are that they need to improve on. As I said, this is only going to raise in elevation the significance of it geopolitically, with the bellicose attitude coming from Beijing or Pyongyang. So as I said, I mean, this is a very important learning lesson for Canada to determine what they can actually do, where they need to spend new defense spending, and as I said, to keep things going, to showcase to the world and to adversaries that Canada has interests that they are willing to protect in the Pacific.
Yeah, and you talk about geopolitics, you know, of course other countries will be monitoring these exercises. What countries in particular do you think will be watching?
I think there's two ways to break this down. Number one, there's just been so much political turmoil, whether it was with NATO. So what I first look at is how are the 30 nations working together to stand up to this? I mean, we need to have a mirror to our face and be so critical of how we did. When it comes to people who will be actively watching it, of course, you have the normal suspects, Beijing and their desire to want to build out their blue water navy. Just recently, they tested a nuclear-capable missile from a submarine, only the third time in their history, with Taiwan going on. And then you also see North Korea, who has made huge strides technologically with technology transfer from the Russians, who are also a huge cause for concern they'll be watching. And to a much, much lesser degree, Russia, who's exceptionally preoccupied in Ukraine. We'll have to see what's going on. But as I said, the takeaway is this is not what the adversaries are looking at, but how we did as 30 coalition, as a coalition of 30 nations working together to project power and deterrence and solidarity in a very, very difficult political situation.
Okay. Thank you very much for this, Roger.
Have a nice evening, everybody.
The Gordie Howe International Bridge between Windsor and Detroit is to open on Monday. But the ribbon-cutting ceremony that was set for this Friday has been cancelled. Ottawa says in light of the new U.S. tariffs, a celebration would be, quote, inappropriate. Donald Trump had delayed the opening to negotiate a better deal for the U.S. All the details have yet to be revealed. The bridge will open to cars and trucks on Monday. It will open to pedestrians and bicycles on August the 5th.
Weather brought to you by Gratian Scaff's 50th anniversary gift event. Get a complete second pair and sunglasses as a gift.
Well, earlier in the show, we told you that parts of the Laurentians were under a tornado warning. Now, that has since been dropped by Environment Canada. They are now under a severe thunderstorm watch, just like here in Montreal. And part of what we can expect is heavy rain at times. Montreal could see between 50 and 30 millimeters of rain. Other parts of the province could get up to 60 millimeters. Another major factor here is strong winds. That is part of why there was a watch for warning for a tornado that was put in place. But once again, that has since been dropped. Now, these strong winds have caused power outages, and it's impacting many parts of the province, but it looks like the Montérégie has been the hardest hit. Quebec City is also impacted by this, and the Laurentians, and even some homes and businesses in Montreal. So it is a serious thing that we're dealing with right now, and obviously we're going to stay on top of this and keep you posted. But we are expecting some showers and the risk of thunderstorms overnight. That's what our 7 to 7 night planner shows. It looks like around 9 o'clock we can definitely see the risk of those thunderstorms, as well as after midnight, and the rain continues into the early morning hours. So we are going to start tomorrow off with some showers. We're not talking about a significant rainfall tomorrow. It's looking like around 1 millimeter. So after all the rain we're seeing tonight, it'll be a little bit of a break. And then later into the day, we could see some peaks of sunshine just around noon, but into the afternoon, we hold on to cloudy skies. And it's not going to be a very warm day tomorrow. We're only looking at a high of 21 degrees. So we'll rewind right now and talk about temperatures overnight, in addition to all the conditions we'll be experiencing. So 19 will be our low overnight. And we're also going to see winds gusting starting early tomorrow from the southwest up to 50 kilometers an hour. And once again, our daytime high is only 21, and typically we should be around 27. So it'll feel a little bit milder, and definitely humidity is not a factor tomorrow. Looking at our longer range forecast here, we do have a few nice days sprinkled in the next 7 days. So after today and tomorrow, where we start the day off with some showers, Thursday's looking not too bad. We are looking at a mix of sun and clouds, a high of 25 degrees. So still a little bit on the milder side, because we should be around 27, which we will hit on Friday. That's going to be our daytime high. Also looking at a mix of sun and clouds. Saturday brings sunshine, which I'm sure we're all going to enjoy. 29 will be the high there, feeling like 32. 27 on Sunday, we could see around 5 millimeters of rain. Risk of thunderstorms on Monday, and another 6 millimeters of rain next Tuesday, which the high will be 26, feeling like 31.
There's been more extreme weather in Alberta. A family had a tornado tear through their property. Amanda Anderson has more.
All of a sudden you could hear a whirring sound. And then bang! And that's when we just ran for the basement, went and hid. And about 30 seconds later, it was over.
30 seconds, and this is the destruction Bryn Hansen and his grandmother looked outside to see.
It was crazy. I didn't know how to react even.
They weren't hurt, but couldn't go outside initially because a power pole had fallen right outside the house. 4 vehicles and several buildings were damaged, some beyond repair. Their shop, which once stood in this spot, was ripped clear off its foundation.
We're just thankful it didn't hit the house, really. You still have somewhere to live.
On the street leading to their family farm, crews are working to clear down trees.
Amazing how much power a tornado has, and how lucky the town is that it only hit a very small segment of our town. If it was, 200 meters west, we would have been in a lot different situation.
Several people captured video of the tornado. Millie Toledo was at work when it hit.
It was really scary for me just to see it through my own eyes.
The Northern Tornadoes Project says this is the worst tornado season in about a decade.
From 2017 onwards, we have never had more than 23 tornadoes in Alberta until this year, and we have 26 this year, and it's July. There's still around a month of peak tornado season.
Cleanup alone on the Hansen farm is expected to take a few weeks, even with dozens of family and community members here helping. But since Hansen's grandparents didn't have insurance, they're hoping to raise money to rebuild and make repairs through a GoFundMe.
The community's been a lot of a help. I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's been hard times, so happy to have all the help.
The Northern Tornadoes Project still has a team on the ground surveying damage. They're looking at an area from southwest of Rocky Mountain House to north of Codner, which is about 10 minutes from here. They expect to release more information about the tornado's path, its width, and rating on Tuesday. Amanda Anderson, CTV News, Rocky Mountain House.
Cats and dogs rescued from Ontario's wildfires are being fostered in homes in southern Ontario. Here's Alexandra Hollick on that.
Hi, babies. For this brother-sister dog duo, the road to safety was a long one. Ross and S'mores arrived in Guelph Saturday from a reserve in northern Ontario. Their community, one of dozens devastated by wildfires, forcing families to flee and in some cases leave their four-legged friends behind.
About 21 or 20 rescues across southern Ontario, took in 112 animals in total.
Safe Paws Animal Rescue is part of a network of organizations giving cats and dogs from the north a second leash on life.
It really ranges what state they're in. We're expecting pregnant dogs, moms with puppies, young puppies, teenager puppies, adult seniors.
Part of the rescue mission is to offer temporary reprieve, placing the pets with foster families until it's safe to return home.
There's the other branch of it where there's the animals that are being officially fully surrendered by their families for various reasons, as well as the stray animals.
Vet teams are also on the ground in northern communities to microchip and vaccinate animals.
So that they're safe, so that if we move them to another humane society or a veterinary clinic, a boarding facility, anything like that, that they're well protected.
Protection extends beyond evacuation. Stacey Murphy is a registered vet tech with the Kitchener-Waterloo Humane Society. She says smoke inhalation from the wildfires is just as bad for pets as it is for humans.
If the air is not good for you to be breathing, it's not good for your animal either.
Urging pet owners to take precautions, especially during air quality warnings.
You know, if we're going outside with them, it's for short walks, to come back inside pretty quickly, monitoring them for signs of respiratory distress and taking them to the vet if something seems out of sorts.
Hi, babies. In the meantime, while the smoky skies may have blown over in southern Ontario, a reminder of the raging wildfires lingers, knowing that many lives, including Ross and S'mores, have been forever changed. Alexandra Hollick, CTV News.
6 beluga whales at Ontario's Marineland are headed to new homes. They're being taken to aquariums in Chicago and Texas. Marineland's 30 belugas and 4 dolphins are all being moved to different facilities in U.S. and in Spain. It tried to move the animals to China last year, but that was stopped by the federal government. Marineland closed in September of 2024. And coming up, the odds were against them.
Amazing, to be honest, particularly the fact that this was spontaneously conceived.
Identical quadruplets, and now it's a family of 10. And drinking coffee is good for us, but there is a catch.
For breaking news and local news that matters to you, download the CTV News app right now by scanning the QR code on your screen using your smartphone. Or you can also go to our website, ctvnewsmontreal.ca. Your Health, brought to you by Gratian Scaff's 50th anniversary gift event. Get a complete second pair and sunglasses as a gift.
The odds of identical quadruplets are 1 in 15 million. One family in Australia beat those odds. Hannah Butt has the story.
It's one of the rarest births in the world. A 34-year-old woman in Australia has delivered identical quadruplets. The family calling their newborn girls 4 precious miracles.
It's amazing, to be honest, particularly the fact that this was spontaneously conceived. One fertilised egg that then splits not once, not twice, but 3 times into 4 different babies who then share a placenta. That is just incredible.
The odds for such a birth? 1 in 15 million. The girls were naturally conceived. A surprise for mom, Genitar, and dad, Jortham, who already have 4 children. While it was considered a high-risk pregnancy, mom was able to deliver the babies at 28 weeks via C-section with no complications. The girls, named Emily, Harriet, Catherine, and Alexa. Alexa, named after the doctor who took such good care of mom during her pregnancy.
It's just such a lovely present and such an honour. And I can't thank the family enough. I'm very happy that they'll have a little Alexa in their family forevermore.
And now reality setting in for the new parents. They launched a fundraising site saying, while our hearts are overflowing with gratitude, the reality of caring for 4 newborns at once has brought challenges we never could have imagined. Hannah Battah, ABC News, New York.
There is good news for people who like coffee. A new study finds that drinking up to 5 8-ounce cups a day is okay for most adults. The study found it might actually reduce the risks for type 2 diabetes, stroke, heart failure. But that is coffee drunk black, without any sugar, sweeteners, flavors, or creams. The findings are in the Journal of the American Heart Association. People are being warned not to eat lean ground beef sold at a St. Leonard grocery store. It's because of possible E. coli contamination. The meat was sold at Marché Atlas on Jean Talon Street East. The recall affects packages of lean ground beef with a packaging date of July 8th. Food contaminated with E. coli can look and smell all right, but it can cause some serious illness. So far, there have been no reports of any people getting sick.
Business News, brought to you by Au Vieux de Louf. Generous and delicious plates all the time.
And now here are some of the day's closing financial numbers. In Toronto, the TSX was up 408 points to 35,369. In New York, the Dow closed up 385 points to 52,224. The S&P 500 index finished the day 65 points higher to close at 7,509. And the Nasdaq was up 329 points to 25,837. And the Canadian dollar is trading slightly higher right now. It is at 70.88 cents US. The Toronto International Film Festival begins September 10th. Today it was unveiling its lineup. It will feature world premieres for Chris Rock's drama Misty Green, as well as the Sylvester Stallone film I Play Rocky. More than 60 films will be screened, and a film about the late disability rights activist Judith Heumann, called Being Human, will open the festival. An American blood donor has come to Montreal, and Caroline, he's here and he's got an interesting track record.
He sure does. Vinton Smith is a blood donor from Pennsylvania who has given blood in all 50 states and is now traveling to Canadian provinces. He donated blood in St. Bruno today, and he has a message about how we can all donate blood out of our own backyards when we're on vacation, for example, if we're too busy at home. A simple gesture that can have a great effect on people. And we will speak to an expert at the Des Hotels School of Management at McGill tonight about the cross-border dimensions of Donald Trump's latest tariff threats. And we'll also be keeping our eye on the weather. That's all on our late show at 11:30. Mitsumi.
Thanks very much, Caroline. And when we come back, some advice from a woman named Val. A 90-year-old woman is proving it is never too late to pick up a new sport. Val Kutis is one of the busiest players at the Valley Stream Pickleball Club in Nepean. She plays nearly every day for hours at a time. She took up the sport just 7 years ago after heart bypass surgery.
Don't feel sorry for yourself. Get up, enjoy life. That's the way I look at it, you know. I don't want to sit at home. Do something. Anything.
It's very good advice. Okay, so no dog walking with Bunzi tonight. It's nasty out there, huh?
Oh yeah, I just took a look outside of our studios. The wind is making trees blow like this. The rain is coming down, so Nuns Island is being impacted as we speak. We are still under this severe thunderstorm watch. We can expect the timeline to extend into the early morning hours. It looks like around 9 we could start to see thunder and lightning, and the potential as well later around midnight. So if you have plans to go out tonight, maybe try and bring them indoors if possible. It certainly would be a lot drier. Here's what else we're forecasting over the next 24 hours. 19 will be our overnight low. We'll see between 15 and 30 millimeters of rain here in Montreal. Other parts of the province could get up to 60 millimeters. Tomorrow we start the day off with about 1 millimeter of rain, and on top of that we're seeing winds gusting from the southwest up to 50 kilometers an hour, which we hold on into the afternoon. But we should see a stop in the rain, cloudy skies into the afternoon. I want to end on a high note here because it's a lot of negative weather talk right now. But look, Thursday and Friday we're calling for a mix of sun and clouds, and our temperatures will be back to seasonal.
And that's it for us. Have a good evening. Stay well. Good night.